Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 19 of Firon's Commentaries to System Shock 2. Well, now we're finally nearing the end of Recreation Deck. Just need to find the Crew Athletic Sector key card and the crew quarters here. Personally, I like using stealth in this game. In all honesty, I usually like games that give you options, but it doesn't strongly emphasize any kind of particular gameplay. Like in System Shock 2, as it's already been proven, it doesn't really strongly hint that you should just use weapons. Sometimes you can use no weapons. Sometimes you can use stealth, which I really like. It really helps you. It helps to adapt to your play style. That could have gone better. There's a particular piece of armor here that I'm trying to get. Gonna be using it for later in the game when recharge stations are much more rare. Or rather, non-existent to be more exact. Coming up is probably one of the last ghost scenes that you ever see in the game, which is a real disappointment, to be honest. They kind of set a more visual interpretation of what happened before, everything went down and you were all alone on board the Von Braun. Which I honestly really like. Not to mention, it's pretty chilling. And for first-time players, it can be pretty scary.
Marvelous choice, if I do see.
Seems like that's become quite a habit lately. Though admittedly, it's pretty fun to dodge them like that. But, anyhow, as I was saying with the ghost scenes, basically, it usually helps to have a visual interpretation of what happened before then. It reaches out to you better than what text or words can usually emphasize. After all, actions usually speak louder than words. Now, let's talk about the design of the crew quarters real quick. Deck 5's crew quarters, I believe, were meant to be the most informal, more based around relaxation rather than being able to get out of bed quickly in case of an emergency. And I'm guessing they were also given to, higher ranked officers, considering there's a limited number. But each of the decks, well, except a few, have their own crew quarters. I believe the only ones who didn't have any crew quarters were decks 1 and 3.
Are we joined?
I mean, you can kind of tell that the crew quarters also have a relationship with the functionality of each deck. Like, in Operations deck, the crew quarters that we found in the Turret Forest sector were a lot more military in style, like they were bunk beds. So, if there was any situation that required their immediate attention, they could quickly get out of bed. Whereas here, quick deployment isn't entirely possible when you think about it, because one, you'd have to get through all these hallways and get through the living area of some of these quarters, and then you have to take an elevator to get to the main floor. And then from there, it would still take a while to get to particular sectors. Not to mention, there's not really that many important functions on Recreation Deck, obviously. Deck 2, I'm not entirely sure why Deck 2 had crew quarters, but I'm guessing it's because if the doctor needed to immediately respond to a medical emergency, they'd quickly be able to get out of their quarters and head immediately to the labs, or not the labs, but the surgery rooms, or whatever they call them, operation rooms, yeah. But I have to admit, the design of each of the crew quarters in any of the decks really intrigues me. They're just top-notch in many ways. Some of them are a bit lacking, but I'm guessing it also pertains to the function or the rank of the people there, or the fact that that room hasn't even been moved into. Because some of these rooms do lack particular furniture. However, what I'm talking about is the rooms that kind of lack, basic necessities, or in our culture, basic necessities like a toilet, for example. Then again, there are public restrooms that we found earlier in this sector, so there isn't too much to complain about. But still, it would be nice to have your own restroom.
The lights near the basketball court keep fritzing out. I think the humidity from the pool next door is a real problem. If it happens when I'm not there, try resetting the circuit from the breaker by the pool. You think someone needs to call a tech?
Well, Yang just gave us an indication of what to expect when we get to athletics sector. There's a basketball court and a swimming pool, and that's pretty much all there is for in terms of athletic stuff. Now, I'm guessing that the basketball court could be, you know, turned into a tennis court if the need arises. Alright. Yeah, that was a fail attempt right there, but luckily they didn't kill me. What confuses me, though, is where all these enemies came from. I don't really remember setting off the alarm or anything. To be honest, this C-shaped corridor in Recreation Deck is just very eerie and creepy. Plus, when you hear this music in the background, it doesn't entirely help the situation. Yeah, I just went back to check out these crew quarters. You'll notice that the ones on the first floor are much fewer in number, and also much more simpler in design. I'm not entirely sure about the rooms that are behind the shutters. I'm guessing those are either extra crew quarters, storage space, or stores. Like clothes stores that were just put here for easy convenience. This is probably the only truly complete crew quarter on the first floor of the crew quarter area. And this is the command elevator room. We're not going to be able to go up there just yet. Still got to activate the transmitter, so off to athletics. And I decided to continue the topic that I started at last episode about how technology would be used for enhancing pleasure for human beings in the future. I believe that the sim centers that were used for like sexual pleasure, those could have been expanded for other activities like sports. It would definitely help with cramped space, but then again, judging from the technology I see in this game, I guess it's only possible to make holograms of human figures rather than entire environments like in Star Trek or whatnot. I've been trying to write a story, and the idea that I have for sim centers is that they're very similar to holodecks in Star Trek. But only time will tell, really. I mean, we do advance faster than what media will suggest, so I guess it's more likely that we'll probably get holographic technology earlier than stated in this game. Aside from enhancing our Hinduistic tendencies, technology can also be used for a military agenda or more illegal criminal activities, besides more legitimate uses for it. Most obvious of which is cybernetic implants, or biomechanical augmentation as it's called in Deus Ex. But before we get to that, here's a log.
They're coming! Oh no! No!
You shouldn't have swallowed. Anyhow, as I was saying, the reason why this is a technology that's bound to be made sooner than later is that, well, it has very unlimited potential. The fact that you could literally make a superhuman. Goggles is, like it or not, pretty much a superhuman, considering the fact that you can upgrade his body just by inserting cyber modules into an upgrade terminal, enhancing his physical body as well as his knowledge of the use of weaponry and whatnot, just by inputting them into a machine rather than by learning it over time or, you know, strengthening his body naturally. And if anyone's wondering, I knew the code beforehand. But to finish up this topic, the fact is, it's all about time. The fact that he learned so much and became so much better than a normal human in so little time. That is the major advantage to having cybernetic implants.
We will destroy my
And pretty much that's what makes me a value to Shodan at this point.
Warning, data systems compromised.
I suppose the only problem you could find with it is that, like any piece of machinery, you would need maintenance every now and then. If something goes wrong with your implants, it could get ugly. I'm pretty sure they'll test it out and eventually make it so that regular civilians can use it to replace lost limbs due to amputation or in wars, to help people regain their lives and all that. After all, war is the mother of invention.
No. It is hopeless. The cancer
Well,
has spread
we're pretty much finished here on Deck 5. We're going to be heading to Command Deck soon to help transfer Shodan's AI to the Rickenbacker, because the many has become too much of a problem, apparently, for her to take out.
no option.
I'm pretty much sure that Xerxes is no longer a threat. You still hear him every now and then, but he's no longer the AI that's in control of the ship.
I will tell you my wishes when you arrive.
In fact, I don't think you hear any more announcements from him after this point. But before we go to Command Deck, we need to head to Midside real quick. I need to pick up a few items and get rid of a few items. But anyhow, this is the end of episode 19. I'll be seeing you soon in episode 20, and if you wish, there's a preview coming up after the credits. See you then.